What's going on, everyone? Breeze here, aka Nubit Soda, coming at you with another video. Today's going to be a weekly recap. I'm just going over some of my stats here and how I did last week, what I did good, what I didn't do well, and yeah, let's get right into it. So, what I did well, executed some good trades with solid risk to reward. Did a pretty good job at identifying setups, which was my main focus for the week. Ended up with a little over an R, so not terrible on my first week back. We could dive into the trades here. So from 8-8 to 8-11, got about 2 wins, 2 losses. Managed to keep the winners bigger than the losses. Kept my risk in check. So happy to just have a little bit of green on the books, a little over an R. So not too bad. But what I didn't do too well was my impulse got the best of me here. Ended up giving some back towards the end of the week. But I started to dive into it a bit more and figure out what was happening. Because I know this has been a recurring issue for me when I'm getting into trades, as I've journaled and reviewed a fair amount of my trades here, and even before this I knew it was kind of an issue, but never really got too in depth with it and looked at the stats. So using Blake's journal here, which is nice. Text trading, if you don't know him, check him out. Great journal. This has been a big help as to figuring out what I've been doing well, what I haven't been. So if we go into my entry process here, we can see the impulsive trades. You can see my return net is even more now that I've adjusted some of these errors, because I did have some that were too early that I just more or less changed to impulsive. I think it was a little bit of denial there. So yeah, you can see I've lost 20 R on impulse trading, and my return net is under what it is now. So if we take off the impulse trading, you can see my return net does go up a little bit there, but it's not great when you consider how much of a percentage that is of my account. I mean, that's fucking absurd if you're asking me, but I knew it was bad, but damn, these stats just throw it right in front of you. So I'm just diving into, why am I impulsing and figuring out, what are the key warning signs in my mind and body that are causing me to act on my impulse. Because it's when the emotion is running too high that I can't identify it, and then it ends up affecting my decision making. So without further ado, just really diving into it, I had to look back at my life and my childhood and a lot of the anger issues I was dealing with back then, and coming to terms with some of the struggles of having ADHD, and how impulsively mad I would get. A lot of the times as a kid, it would be like something like dumb, like a video game not going my way, and I would honestly go as far as like smashing my controller or even hitting myself just because of the impulse of rage. And it sounds so fucking stupid, but that was the reality. Or maybe like I'd lose my wallet or my keys in a pinch, need to be somewhere, and then I'd start flipping shit. Where the fuck did I put it? Like, how could I end up just going crazy? And it's of course like right in front of my face, because my decision making is so flawed and overran with emotion that I can't even think straight. And I've learned to mitigate a lot of those impulse rages in those situations. For example, just by like systemizing where I keep my keys, my wallet, my phone, etc. And so I'm like always checking for my essential items more often than not, but consciously it'll be in a spot where I could see and remember where it is at the very least. And fast forward to now, no video game could ever make me rage like that, but it's also due to the fact that I don't really care for them anymore. If I'm thinking about like stuff I do care, for example, like golf, I would definitely find myself time to time just slamming a club on the ground after hitting an awful shot. And it's just that impulse of rage that takes control over me, and I normally can control it, but after a few bad ones, it just gets to me, and then there goes the club right into the ground. And then just the rest of the round of battling my emotions, and all my mental capacity gets more directed to that than my task at hand, like hitting the next shot, just following my process, and coming back to terms with you can hit a good golf shot, just relax, breathe, and and get it done and move on to the next shot. But just taking it back to trading for a moment, I would often find my impulse emotion is stronger when I'm entering a position than it is when I'm managing it. And this wasn't always the case, but more recently I've been able to identify much easier when I'm triggered in a trade, and will find myself leaving the room consistently to try to ground myself. And for my exits, a majority of the time I understand the trade at hand and I can see it through to the target or get stopped out. But it's when I'm entering a trade that the emotion is running so high I can't stop myself from entering a trade. And so just making it my number one goal moving forward. Instead of identifying setups, I need to identify the warning signs in my mind and body of this impulse feeling. Am I leaning in to the monitor excessively and only staring at one chart? Am I, just so focused on getting in the trade or focused on a certain bias? So working towards identifying those warning signs, and then just bringing myself back to earth by leaving the room even before I'm in a trade. So in doing that, I can just, take a reset, think about whether or not my trading plan is still valid or not, and go from there. Because a lot of the times I think it's a similar situation to the golf example, where if I make one bad shot, or if I'm thinking one thing, I can usually just get over it. But after a few mistakes or errors, it starts to build up, and then I impulse. So translating that over to trading, it'll be like where I'm watching the charts constantly for maybe like an hour, 2 hours straight, not consciously walking away from my monitor, but walking away just to do other things, and then consistently coming back to stare at my monitor. So just being able to step away from that and realize that this impulse emotion can build up over time after watching price action, I think it's making a difference. So I was able to put it into practice yesterday, which was Monday. So just working on this moving forward, making it my number one priority, because that's what's going to save me money. I know how to make good trades in this market, but that impulse emotion is what ends up taking some of my money back. So primary focus is just listening again to all the warning signs, and then putting into action how I can mitigate the emotions running so high, right? Because without a doubt, impulse is a negative emotion, and it can really, really cloud your judgment. So I know I've kind of extrapolated this past a weekly review, but I feel like that recurring issue has forced me to look back and figure out what's really going on now that I'm starting to review my trading process a lot more in depth. So happy that I'm finally taking this extra step to talk about it and just really figure out what is going on, instead of just, oh, that's an impulse trade, move on to the next one. Because clearly you could see that's what would happen here from time to time. If you look at the numbers here, you can see I impulse relatively consistently. So my first trade, third trade, fourth trade, fifth trade, there's a good lot. 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, good lot. 23, 24, 33, 36. And then it's got a little bit more sporadic, but I've at least been able to manage my risk decently up to this point. I'm totally okay with, losing some money here. The money I put into this account, I was completely okay with losing all of it, but just working towards managing my risk so that I could flip this shit around and look to start to grow this account. So I know these stats are atrocious, but it is what it is. I'm not really tripping about it. I've been able to find some decent consistency here from trade 31 and on, so looking to just keep this going and manage my risk properly, keep my emotions in check, and execute the trading plan. So Hope you enjoyed that kind of weekly trading review. Really try to get into what was going on in my head, and how has this emotion been a part of my life. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.